Today I'm going to be showing you some actually really unique Plants vs. Zombies plushes that are all made out of crochet. And while none of these Plants vs. Zombies plushes are official and they're all custom made, and if you want any of these plushes you can look up Plants vs. Zombies plushes on Etsy and you should be able to find them pretty easily. So yeah, let's start off with the first plush being the cabbage pole. Now every single one of these plushes are actually inside of a flower pot, and what was just a basic white flower pot with some fake grass inside of it. And well, even though they aren't technically accurate to the game, they still look pretty good, and they're on basically every single one of these plushes that we're going to look at today. And well, for the leaf base on this plush, it doesn't look too bad, and everything about it actually looks really good, and they actually added a pole to it, which just makes it look really nice. As well as you know, it's very rare to have pole plushes actually have a pole on them for whatever reason, so yeah, honestly, it's really unique, and it looks really good. And well, overall, I think that basically every single detail on this plush is just really unique, and it actually just looks really good. I think that they did a nice job with it, making everything look accurate. Next, we have the Gatling pea. Now, this plush only has 3 leaves on the leaf base for whatever reason, most likely because they probably just saw a Linkson plush so they made that, and well, for the rest of the plush, it looks pretty good. The eyes on most of these plushes are actually made out of beads, so they're not always completely accurate, but they still look pretty good, especially because of how small these plushes are. As well, another thing to note about these plushes is that they're all just really small, as well, crochet is actually pretty hard to make, so yeah, most of these plushes just have to be really small so that they end up looking pretty good. But yeah, overall, basically every single detail on this plush is accurate. For whatever reason, the helmet on this plush isn't a gray color. I don't really know why they did that, but still, overall, the rest of the plush looks pretty good. Next, we have the Arbor Ninja. Now, this is just overall a really strange pick to make, as though the majority of these plushes are based off of Plants vs. Zombies 1 or Plants vs. Zombies 2 plants. But for whatever reason, they just made this plush, which is based off of Plants vs. Zombies 2 Chinese edition plant, so yeah, honestly, I have no idea why they made this one, but they still ended up doing it, and well, but overall looks pretty good. It's definitely not as good as the newly released Linkson 2 one, but overall, for a crochet plush, it actually looks really nice, and they got basically everything accurate. As well, the shape and all the details just overall look really good, and even though it's just a really strange pick and it basically just stands out from the rest of these plushes, it still looks really nice. Next, we have the garlic. Now, the face on the garlic plush overall looks really good, and well, the shape of the garlic also looks pretty good, and they did a nice job with the top of the plush. And well, basically everything about this plush is accurate, as though they just did a really nice job of it. It's one of the few garlic plushes that don't have wings on them, because well, since most of the garlic plushes are based off of the Linkson one, which is based off of a fake Plants vs. Zombies 2 leak, a lot of garlic plushes just have wings on them. So yeah, it's definitely just really nice to see a normal garlic plush, and well, they actually just did a really nice job of it, and basically looks perfectly accurate. Next, we have the potato mine. Now, for the dirt base on this plush, it looks pretty good. The actual shape of the potato mine and everything just looks really good. And well, the face also looks pretty nice. And same thing with the top part of it. As well, I think that the potato mine is overall just a pretty simplistic character, so it's kind of hard to mess up, which is probably why they got basically every single detail on this plush correct, as well, but it's just kind of hard to mess up on. So yeah, overall, I think they did a pretty nice job with the potato mine, and it overall looks pretty good. Next, we have the split pea. Now, the leaf base once again only has 3 leaves, and well, for the stem, it's just really skinny, just like every other plush in the set mostly, and well, the actual heads of it look pretty good. As well, just like the Gatling pea, they're really nicely shaped and everything, and from the side view, you could actually tell how well they're shaped, and well, they look pretty good. The only bad part about it is that you can't really tell the difference between the normal head and the repeater head, as well, they basically made no differences for that, so that's basically the only bad thing about this plush. But besides that one detail that they missed out on, overall, I think this is a pretty nice plush, and they did a nice job with it. Next, we have the fire pea. Now, the stem and leaf base is really nothing special, but the face actually looks really good, and they put a lot of detail into it. First off, the actual head shape just looks really accurate, and the eyes also look pretty nice, as well, they just did a good job coloring them and everything. And while the actual fire on the head, they did a really nice job with it, as well, they used a good amount of colors, which makes the plush look unique, and overall, I think that they just did a really nice job with it, as well, I think it looks good. And while even from the side angle, I think that the fire still overall looks pretty good, and I think that they just did a really nice job with this plush, and is one of the few good looking fire pea plushes. Next, we have the 3-peater. Now, the leaf base and stems on these plushes are the exact same as the rest of the plushes, and while the actual heads are just really nicely shaped once again, and they basically use the exact same design as the other pea shooters. The only difference between these ones though is that they have a few more leaves on the back of the head for whatever reason, but besides that, there's really no changes about them, and they once again just look really good. Next we have the cherry bomb. Now for the heads of the cherry bomb, they look pretty good. The eyes do look a bit weird though on some of them, as well for whatever reason I just don't really like how they look. And well, by far the strangest part about this plush is the leaves, as though the leaves are just way too big, and they also just take up way too much to the plush, and they just don't really look that good in my opinion. As though I don't really know why they made them so big, as though if they just made them a bit smaller, I think that this plush overall would just looked a lot better. But yeah, besides the leaves, the eyes on the faces do look pretty weird, but besides that, the rest of the plush overall looks pretty good, and they did an overall nice job with it. If I did make this plush though, I would have changed a few things, but yeah, overall it's not that bad. Next up we have the cattail. Now once again, the leaves on this plush are just way too big, as well I think they should have made the leaf base just slightly smaller, but yeah, overall the rest of the plush looks pretty good, as well the cattail's face actually has a pretty good amount of detail on it, and they did a nice job with it. As of everything seems to be pretty nicely stuffed and everything, and the face is overall nicely shaped, and the only part of the plush that I don't really like is the actual tail on this plush, as though it's just really skinny, and the actual shooter part of the plush just looks really strange. So yeah, I think they just made the tail a bit wider, but yeah, overall, that's basically the only thing that I would change about this plush. They just made that a bit wider. I think it would have overall looked a lot better. Next, we have the winter melon. Now, the leaf base on this plush is definitely the worst part about it, as it just looks really strange in my opinion. I don't really know why they made it like that. But the rest of the plush actually looks really good, so the actual face for the winter melon looks nice, and it also has a nice looking pulp, which is actually something unique about this one. As well, just like the cabbage pulp, most main winter melon plushes that are released don't have pulps on them, and basically the only ones that do have pulps are the really obscure ones. So yeah, besides the really weird looking leaf base, this plush actually looks really good for the rest of it. Next up we have the squash. Now the squash is overall one of the better plushes in terms of accuracy, as though there's not too many details on the squash, but they did a really nice job with it still. As though the actual plush is just really nicely stuffed and everything, the face looks really good, and they also did a nice job making all the definition on the bottom of it, and overall it looks really nice. And well, in my opinion, I don't really see anything wrong with this plush, as well basically everything about it is perfectly accurate, and well, they just did a really nice job with it. Next we have the jalapeno. Now, the shape of the jalapeno overall looks pretty good, but the face is definitely the weirdest part about it, as well the mouth just overall looks really strange. But besides a really strange looking mouth and eyes, the rest of the plush is overall just really nicely stuffed and everything, and they got the shape of it basically perfectly correct, and same thing with the stem. So I think if they just changed the face and made it just look a bit better, I think that this plush would overall just be a really nice jalapeno plush, and they only really have to change one thing. Next we have the walnut. Now the walnut is definitely one of the most simplistic plants out there, and well that's why this plush overall looks pretty good, so there's just very few details you need to make besides the face, and well the face overall looks pretty good. The only thing that kind of looks questionable on the face is that for whatever reason the eyebrows are in a weird position, and it makes it look like he's sad. As though the eyebrows are just pointing in a certain direction, which just makes the walnut just look sort of sad in my opinion. So yeah, besides that, the rest of the walnut plush looks pretty good though. Next we have the sea shroom. Now one thing I already really like about this plush is that they actually turned the grass into some blue crochet, and well it looks pretty good, so it actually represents the water really nicely. And well, for the actual sea shroom, they did a nice job stuffing it and everything. The face overall looks really good, and they basically got all the details on this plush correct. As well, it just looks really good in my opinion. They just overall did a nice job with it. And well, it's actually really nice to see another sea shroom plush, although there's just very few of them out there. Next we have the tangle kelp. Now once again, just like the sea shroom, they turned the fake grass into some actually blue crochet to represent the water, and once again, it looks really nice. And while this tangle kelp plush overall looks really good, I like all the details that they added with the seaweed and everything, as though they just did a really nice job with it, and well the face looks pretty good. And well once again, it's really nice to actually see an accurate looking tangle kelp plush, as well there's just very few of them out there. Next we have the bok choy. Now the face on this plush looks really good, and it's basically perfectly accurate to the game, and well same thing with the top of this plush, as well it's just really nicely made and everything, and it looks great. And while the arms on this plush are once again just really nicely made, as well I like the way that they're rolled up and everything, and it looks basically perfectly accurate to the game. The only really bad thing about it that's not accurate is the face color. As though the color of the face is actually supposed to be slightly lighter and more of a whitish color than a green color, but besides that, the rest of the plush actually looks fine. And while in terms of accuracy, it's one of the better plushes in this video, as overall they just did a really nice job with it and it looks great. Next we have the Chomper. Now the leaf base on this plush looks really strange, and well, in my opinion, basically every single part of the plush looks strange. As though the stem is just way too skinny, basically everything about this plush just looks really weird, as though the mouth is just really wide open and the eyes also look really weird. As though the only part of the eyes that you could actually see are just the beads, and well, it just doesn't really represent the Chomper that well in my opinion, so yeah, overall this definitely has to be one of the worst plushes, as though it just doesn't really look that nice. Next we have the Blover. Now once again, the Blover is just a pretty simplistic plant, and the only really details there are to make on this plush is the face and the 3 leaves. And while I think that they did a pretty nice job with it, as though the leaves look really accurate, and the same thing with the face. And while I think the stem also looks pretty good, so yeah, basically every single part of this plush just looks really nice, and I think that they just did a really good job with it, as it was just a really simplistic character. Next we have the Marigold. Now, the stem and leaf base look alright on this plush, but the thing that I don't really like about it is the face. As though the face is basically missing every single detail for the Marigold, as though it's literally just 2 eyes and a mouth, which is just really lackluster, and it doesn't really represent the Marigold that well. As though the problem with Crochet is that most of the time it's really hard to make faces out of these plushes that have a lot of detail, which is why the Marigold face just looks really strange. So yeah, honestly, this definitely has to be one of the worst plushes, as though the face is just really lackluster and there's barely any detail to it, and it doesn't really represent a Marigold face at all. And well, for the rest of the face, it overall looks really nice with the petals and everything. If the eyes are just a bit different and look better, I think that this plush would overall be pretty good, but for whatever reason, the eyes just don't really look that nice. Next we have the Bloomerang. As well, the leaf face on this plush looks really nice, and the face of it also looks basically perfectly accurate. And while for the body of the Bloomerang, it's nicely shaped and is basically perfectly accurate to the game, and all the boomerangs on it also look great. As well, they're perfectly shaped and they all look basically perfectly accurate to the game, and they're all nicely stuffed and everything, so yeah, in my opinion, this definitely has to be one of the better plushes. As well, it just looks really good, and they just did a nice job with it, so yeah, out of all of these plushes, I think this one definitely has to be one of the most accurate looking plants. Next we have the Triplet Sunflower. Now this definitely has to be the strangest plant out of all of these, as it was based off of the really obscure Plants vs. Zombies All-Star Sunflower. As well, in Plants vs. Zombies All-Stars, you could upgrade the plants, and on the tier 3 sunflower, there's a Triplet Sunflower, which I'm assuming that this is based off of. But yeah, overall, for the actual plush, it looks pretty accurate to the Triplet Sunflowers. There's literally just 3 sunflower faces, so it's not that hard of a plush to make. And while unlike the Marigold, they actually got the faces on these plushes really accurate. The main reason why is that the sunflower face is just much more simplistic than the Marigold, even though they're pretty similar characters. So yeah, since the face is just much more simplistic for the sunflower, the 3 faces on this plush just look really good, and they did a great job with them. Next we have the Coconut Cannon. Now the shape of the coconut cannon is basically perfectly accurate, with all the details like the eyes just look really good. And while the actual coconut inside of the mouth is just a really nice detail that they did a great job with, and the leaves on the coconuts on the side of them also look really good. So yeah, in terms of accuracy, once again, for whatever reason, most of the Plants vs. Zombies 2 plants are basically perfectly accurate. As though the Bok Choy and Bloomerang were also perfectly accurate, just like this Coconut Cannon plush, so yeah, for whatever reason, they just did a really nice job with these 3 plushes. Next we have the Cactus. Now this is definitely a really strange looking plush, and the main reason for that is the face. As though for whatever reason, the eyes on this plush just give it a really weird look, and also the spikes and everything don't look perfectly accurate, as though they're completely the wrong color. As though they're supposed to be a bright red color, while these are much darker, and while they just don't really look as good. I also think that they just added way too many of them, and they should have had a bit less as well, but they had a bit less. I think they would have overall just looked a lot better, and they should have just changed the color on them. So yeah, overall, this definitely has to be one of the stranger looking plushes. Next we have the Umbrella Leaf. Now for the actual leaves on this plush, they look really good, and they seem to have some extra embroidery on them just to give it a bit more detail. Now for the body of the umbrella leaf, it's obviously supposed to be a green color, but this plush is a white color, mostly because it's based off of the Helly World umbrella leaf, which is why it's white. And well, for the rest of the face, it looks pretty good. The only really downside to it is that for whatever reason, the creator of this plush added pink below the eyes, which makes the face just look really strange. I don't really like that detail, so if they just removed that, I think it would have just looked a lot better. And well, now we're going to be moving on to the zombies, starting off with the Buckethead zombie. Now, the faces on these zombies actually look really good, so they usually use the exact same face, but for the face on these plushes, they look really nice. As well, the eyes just look really accurate, and same thing with the mouths, and also the shape of the head just looks really good, so yeah, overall, basically all the details on the head look great. And well, for the bucket on this plush, it looks really accurate, and well, they actually just did a really nice job with it, as well, you could even see the stains on the bucket, which is just a really nice detail. And well, for the rest of the plush, it uses a generic coat, which is on basically every single zombie plush, so yeah, overall, once again, just looks really nice, and I also like the tie on this plush. The only thing that's sort of strange about these zombie plushes is that for whatever reason, they're in a flower pot, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, but still, they look pretty good. Next, we have the Conehead zombie, and well, this one's basically the exact same as the Buckethead zombie, but it just has a cone instead. As well, they used all the exact same details, they just added a cone, which looks pretty nice, and well, I think they did a good job with the cone. And well, next we have the screen door zombie, which is once again the exact same design, but he's just holding a screen door. And while the actual screen door looks really nice, as well, they added some extra embroidery to it, and the actual screen looks really good. So yeah, I think they just did a really nice job with this plush, as all the details are basically perfectly accurate, and it's one of the better looking screen door zombie plushes out of the very few that exist. Next we have the duct tube zombie. Now this plush uses the exact same design as the other zombies, except it has a duct tube on it, which looks really good. As it was nicely shaped and everything, and the actual face on it just looks really good, and it uses 2 beads for the eyes, and the beak is also nicely stuffed, and it seems to have some extra embroidery on it. So yeah, even though it's a very small change, and even though they basically use the exact same design, it just looks really good once again. Next we have the Snorkeler zombie. Now the face on this plush is the exact same as the other ones, but the actual goggles on this plush look really good, and well, basically everything about them look really nice. As well, they're basically perfectly accurate to the game, and they represent it just really nicely, and they also are basically just perfectly made with all the colors and everything. And while the clothes on this plush also look really good, and basically everything about it just looks really nice, and they added some extra embroidery onto the feet. And while it's actually really nice to see a Snorkeler zombie plush, so there's basically only one really well-known Snorkeler zombie plush, being the Mexican bootleg one, so yeah, that's basically the only really well-known one, so it's nice to see another. Next we have the pole vaulting zombie. Now the face of this plush is the exact same as the others, but they just added a headband to it with some hair under it. And while he's also in a unique pose, as since he's holding the actual pole on this plush, it looks really good, and it seems like he's about to throw it, which just looks really nice. And well, for the clothes on this plush, they look really good. For whatever reason, this one picture that we have of it, the clothes don't really fully fit on him, as though the shirt doesn't fully go down for whatever reason. But yeah, the rest of the plush overall looks really good, and they got all the details perfectly correct. Next we have the newspaper zombie. Now this plush uses the exact same face as the others, but they just added hair to it, and well, they also added the glasses, which actually look really nice. As well, the glasses are basically in the perfect position, they overall just look really good, and the newspaper that he's holding also looks nice. And while the clothes on this plush are also just really accurate, so yeah, once again, they just did a really nice job with it. As you can tell, they just added a lot of detail onto the newspaper and everything. As well, instead of just printing it on like every other company would, they actually had to crochet it individually, which actually makes it a lot more unique, and they put a lot more effort into it. Next we have the bungee zombie. Now the face on this plush isn't accurate, as it uses the normal basic zombie face, which is actually supposed to be slightly different on the bungee zombie, but the rest of it looks fine. As well, the shirt on this plush looks really good, and same thing with the pants, so yeah, overall everything about it just looks really nice, and he's also in a unique pose. And while this is also the first ever bungee zombie I've ever seen, so yeah, it's overall just a really unique one. Next we have a cowboy zombie. Now the face on this plush is the exact same as the others, and while the hat on this plush is unique, and while same thing with the bandana, as well, they just did a really nice job with it, especially with the hat. As well, they added some extra embroidery to it and everything, and they nicely stuffed it, and the bandana also looks great. And well, for the rest of the clothes, it's basically perfectly accurate to the game, and it looks really nice. Next we have the pogo zombie. Now, the face on this plush is the exact same as the basic zombie, but they actually added a lot more details, like the glasses, which seem to be the exact same as the newspaper zombie, and they also added some hair. As of the hair on this plush overall just looks really good, and same thing with the little beard at the end of the face, so yeah, overall they did a nice job with that, and they got all the clothes on this plush perfectly accurate. As of all the things like the shirt and pants just look really nice, and the actual pogo stick also looks good. And this is also, once again, the only pogo zombie I've ever seen, so once again, it's just a really unique one that they basically got perfectly accurate. Next, we have the balloon zombie. Now, this plush uses the basic zombie face with a hat on. Well, the hat actually looks really nice, as even though it's really small, it still looks great. And well, once again, he's in a unique pose, and the balloon face on this plush actually looks great. As though the eyes and mouth look perfectly accurate, and they also got the shape of the balloon in basically a perfect circle, and they also got the rest of it just really nice, as though all the clothes and everything look perfectly accurate, so yeah, overall a really nice looking plush. And well, even though it's definitely not the best balloon zombie plush out there, it still looks pretty good. Next up we have the ladder zombie. Now, the face of this plush looks really nice, as though the mustache on it just looks really good, and it has a lot of detail to it. As though the ladder zombie is actually a pretty detailed zombie compared to the rest of them, as though it just has a lot of unique details to it, which makes it just look really nice. Which is probably why you barely see any plushes of this one, as though this is the first ever ladder zombie plush I've seen, and well, it looks really good. It's holding the ladder and everything that basically looks perfectly made and everything, and the coat is basically the exact same one used on the bungee zombie. And well, for the pants on this plush, it also looks pretty good, and the rest of the details look great. So yeah, basically every single part of this plush just looks really nice, and I think that they overall just did a really nice job with it. As well, once again, just like most of these plushes, there's really no inaccuracies to them, and especially with the zombies, I think that they just did a really nice job with them. But yeah, out of all of these Crochet Plants vs. Zombies plushes, which is your favorite? Comment that down below, and yeah, have a great day.